Hare Krishna, thank you for joining. And let's make a start. We're doing a new topic today, new pastime. And let me just finish this. Okay. We've got like about three, including this one, 3 sessions left. So 6th, 13th, 20th. And then we'll start completely fresh from the new year, a new style, and start from the beginning. I think it'll be nice. I don't know how many people will be able to join because of the timings, but let's see. Let's see how it goes. Okay. Right. So today we're talking about Diti vows to kill King Indra. I think they are all family, but this is a problem with with dynasties and kings and queens and power and politics. They are all out to, they'll do anything. So let's see. So in the beginning of creation, Lord Brahma, the father of the living entities of the universe, saw that all the living entities were unattached. To increase population, he then created woman from the better half of man's body. And even, in English we hear, don't we, the better half. So this is, it's well-known fact. For woman's behavior carries away a man's mind. So women are stronger, I guess, than the men in that respect. O my dear one, the most powerful sage Kashyap, being extremely pleased by the mild behavior of his wife Diti, smiled and spoke to her as follows. Kashyap Muni says, O beautiful woman, O reproachable lady, since I am very much pleased by your behavior, you may ask me for any benediction you want. If your husband is pleased, what desires are difficult for his wife to obtain, either in this world or in the next? So it is said that, if wife can please the husband and, with her behavior, she can ask for anything. The husband will do anything. But unfortunately, it doesn't always happen like that. It doesn't, as in theory works out, but in practice, it doesn't always work out like that. So let's pray. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mukham Kroti Vachalam, Bhangum Langyate Grim, Yat Kirpata Homandeshi, Gurundin Taranam, Brahmanandamad, Shichtane Ishram, Hari Om Tassat, Narayam Namaskritya, Naram Cheva Narotamam, Devim Sasvit Pyasam, Tatojem Udirye, Nastapeshu Abdireshu, Nityam Bhagavad Sevya, Bhagavati Uttam Shloke, Bhakti Bhakti Nestaki. So it's continued. A husband is the supreme demigod for a woman. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vasudev, the husband of Goddess of Fortune, is situated in everyone's heart and is worshipped through the various names and forms of the demigods by fruitive workers. Similarly, a husband represents the Lord as the object of worship for a woman. The Lord says in Bhagavad-Gita 9.23, whatever a man may sacrifice to other gods, O son of Kunti, is really meant for me alone, but is offered without true understanding. The demigods are various assistants who act like the hands and legs of the Supreme Personality Godhead. One who is not in direct touch with the Supreme Lord and cannot conceive of the exalted position of the Lord is sometimes advised to worship the demigods as various parts of the Lord. So it continues that if women who are usually very much attached to their husbands worship their husbands as representatives of Vasudev, the women benefit just as Ajamil benefit by calling for Narayan, his son. Ajamil was concerned with his son, but because of the attachment to the name of Narayan, he attained salvation simply by chanting that name. In India, husband is still called Pati Guru, the husband spiritual master. If husband and wife are attached to one another for advancement in Krishna consciousness, the relationship of cooperation is very effective for such advancement. Although the names of Indra and Agni are sometimes uttered in the Vedic mantras, Indra, Swaha, Agni Swaha. The Vedic sacrifices are actually performed for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. As long as one is very much attached to material sense gratification, the worship of demigods or worship of one's husband is recommended. Okay, so this is like the basis. If you are going to worship in stages, then they're saying that you can worship the husband or you can worship the demigods, but ultimately you should worship Vasudeva Krishna. My dear wife, whose body is so beautiful, you always maintain a conscientious wife should be chaste and should abide by the orders of her husband. She should very devoutly worship her husband as a representative of Vasudeva. So basically, you're worshipping Krishna. That should be the mentality. It's like when you're worshipping your guru, because he's a representative of Vasudeva, of Krishna. So worship him, but at the same time, remembering that Guru is a jiva, is a living entity. He's not God. So same with the husband. If a wife is devout to him, is worshipping him, she has to remember that he is not God. I'm worshipping him because he is a representative of Lord Krishna, but he is not God. My dear gentle wife, because you have worshipped me with great devotion, considering me a representative of the Supreme Personality Godhead, I shall reward you by fulfilling your desires, which are unobtainable for an unjust wife. Diti replied, O my husband, O great soul, I have now lost my sons. If you want to give me a benediction, I ask you for an immortal son who can kill Indra. I pray for this because Indra, with the help of Vishnu, has killed my two sons, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. So Diti gave birth to the demons, right? So these two demons, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, were killed, as we know. Hiranyakashipu being father of Prahlad, and Hiranyaksha was his brother who stole planet Earth and was killed by Varadev. The word Indra, Hanam, means one who kills Indra, but also means one who follows Indra. The word Amrityum refers to the demigods who don't die like ordinary human beings because they have extremely long durations of life. For example, the duration of Lord Brahma's life is stated Bhagavad-Gita Sahasra Yuga Pariyantam Ahar and Brahmano Vidu. Even the duration of 1 day or 12 hours of Brahma is 4.3 million years. That is 1 day multiplied by 1,000. Thus, the duration of his life is inconceivable for an. Okay, so it's 1 day or 12 hours, Brahma, which is like half, just a day, not including the night. So 1.3 million times 1,000, so that's 1.3 billion years. His life is like 311 trillion years, 100 years, 311 trillion years. Thus, the duration of his life is inconceivable for an ordinary human being. The demigods are therefore sometimes called Amar, which means one who has no death. In this material world, however, everyone has to die. Therefore, the word Mrityum indicates that Diti wanted a son who would be equal in status to the demigods. So it would be Amar. She wanted an Amar son. Upon hearing Diti's request, Kashyap Muni was very aggrieved. Alas, he lamented, now I face the danger of impious act of killing Indra. Kashyap Muni thought, alas, I have now become too attached to material enjoyment. Because he was so attached to his wife, then, problems happen. Taking advantage of this, my mind has been attracted by the illusion entity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of a woman, my wife. Therefore, I am surely a wretched person who will glide down toward hell. This woman, my wife, has adopted a means that follows her nature, and therefore she is not to be blamed. but I'm a man. Therefore, all condemnation upon me. I'm not at all conversant with what is good for me, since I could not control my senses. So even the somebody like Kashyap Muni is complaining that he can't control his senses. This is all for us, all this illusory energy. When devotees of the Lord, like Kashyap Muni, is a great saint. Yudhishthira Maharaj, Arjun, like that. When they get into illusion, it's just for our benefit, so we can learn that what can happen if you're not careful. So we have to be careful at every step. Padam padam yad vipadam. There's always danger at every step, so we have to be mindful how we tread in life. This woman, my wife, has adopted a means that follows her nature, and therefore she is not to be blamed. But I am a man, therefore condemnation upon me. I'm not at all conversant with what is good for me, since I could not control my senses. So the natural instinct of a woman is to enjoy material world. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining, she induces her husband to enjoy this world by satisfying his tongue, belly, and genitals, which are called jiva, udar, and upastha. A woman is expert in cooking palatable dishes so that she can easily satisfy her husband in eating. When one eats nicely, his belly is satisfied, and as soon as the belly is satisfied, the genitals become strong. Especially when a man is accustomed to eating meat and drinking wine and similar passionate things. He certainly become sexually inclined. It should be understood that sexual inclinations are meant not for spiritual progress, but for gliding down to hell. And this is why we have the full regulations of no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit relationships, and as you know, no gambling. So Kashyap Muni considered his situation and lamented. In other words, to be householder is very risky unless one is trained and the wife is a follower of her husband. A husband should be trained at the very beginning of his life. During that time of brahmacharya, student life, the brahmachari should be taught to be expert in Bhagavad Dharma, devotional service. Then when he marries, if his wife is faithful to her husband and follows him in such life, the relationship between husband and wife is very desirable. Excuse me. However, if a relationship between husband and wife without spiritual consciousness, but strictly for sense gratification, is not at all good. So husband and wife, they can make spiritual life work really well together, or they can glide themselves to hell, depends on which options they choose. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam that especially in this age, Kali Yuga, the relation between husband and wife will be based on sexual power. Therefore, household life in this Kali Yuga is extremely dangerous unless both the wife and husband take to Krishna consciousness. Yeah, so because there's not much spirituality about, and everything's centered around sense gratification, going to restaurants, going to cinema, going to clubs. It all leads to one thing, right? It's like gratification, and which leads to more gratification. So we have to be very careful. A woman's face is as attractive and beautiful as a blossoming lotus flower during autumn. Her words are very sweet and they give pleasure to the ear. But if you study a woman's heart, you can understand it to be extremely sharp, like the blade of a razor. In these circumstances, who could understand the dealings of a woman? So, end of the day, we have all been women. We all have been animals. We have everything. So it just Srila Prabhupada or Bhagavatam is referring to that body. When this living soul is in that body, how nature becomes. It's not so if you had a body of an animal, you would behave like that. A man's body behaves in a different way. It's just just the makeup, what kind of instruments you're made into. right? Woman is one kind of instrument, man is another kind of instrument. Animals, trees, they're another kind of instruments. But the soul is the same that travels in different bodies. And we all swapping around. Sometimes we are women, men are women, and then women are men, like that. So the female body, referring to, sometimes the Krishna consciousness movement is criticized for mingling men and women, but Krishna consciousness is meant for everyone. Whether one is a man or a woman doesn't matter. Lord Krishna personally says, Istriyo Veshyas Tatha Shudras Tepi Yanti Param Gatim. Whether one is a woman, Shudra, Vaishya, not speak of being a Brahman or Kshatriya, everyone is fit to return home, back to Godhead, if he strictly follows the instructions of the spiritual master and Shastra. We therefore request all the members of the Krishna conscious movement, both men and women, not to be attracted by bodily features, but only to be attracted by Krishna. Then everything will be all right. Otherwise, there will be danger. So, according to this, it's saying that the female nature is to enjoy. So, it's more difficult for the female to, go get strict in spirituality. But if they can, then I think they get bonus points because it's easier for the man, if he decides to go spirituality. It's more difficult movement. So if she can reach that level, then she obviously working a lot harder to get there. So, more credit for that. To satisfy their own interests, women deal with men as if the men were most dear to them, but no one is actually dear to them. Women are supposed to be very saintly, but for their own interest, they can kill even their husbands, sons, or brothers, or cause them to be killed by others. Yeah, I mean, this doesn't happen normally, but if you look at the history of kings and queens, yes, it does happen. They are capable of doing that. The queens have done that. So, it's nothing that is, no, it's not a secret. It does happen. It just depends, where there's power in politics, things like that can happen. But men are doing the same thing. It just the subject here is women. A woman's nature has been particularly well studied by Kashyap Muni. Women are self-interested by nature, and therefore they should be protected by all means so that their natural inclination to be too self-interested will not be manifested. Women need to be protected by men. A woman should be cared for by her father in childhood, by her husband in youth, and her grandsons in her old age. This is the injunction of Manu, who says that a woman should not be given independence at any stage. When they say independence, mean that she should always be protected. There should be always a male protection behind her. Women must be cared for so that they will not be free to manifest their natural tendency for gross selfishness. There have been many cases, even in the present day, in which women have killed their husbands to take advantage of their insurance policies. Interesting. This is not a criticism of women, but a practical study of their nature. Such natural instincts of a woman or a man are manifested only in the bodily conception of life. When either a man or a woman is advanced in spiritual consciousness, the bodily conception of life practically vanishes. We should see all women as spiritual units, Aham Brahmasmi, whose only duty is to satisfy Krishna. Then the influences of the different modes of material nature which result from one's possessing a material body will not act. So Srila Prabhupada just highlighting the importance of Krishna consciousness, especially in the Kali Yuga, how important it is that we follow this process, because otherwise there's danger. Excuse me. I promised to give her a benediction, and this promise cannot be violated, but Indra does not deserve to be killed. In these circumstances, the solution I have is quite suitable. Excuse me. Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, Kashyap Muni, thinking this way, became somewhat angry, condemning himself. O Maharaj Parikshit, descendant of Guru, he spoke to Diti as follows. Kashyap says, my dear gentle wife, if you follow my instructions regarding this vow for at least 1 year, you will surely get a son who will be able to kill Indra. However, if you deviate from this vow following the Vaishnava principles, you will get a son who will be favorable to Indra. So Kashyap has come up with this plan that you follow this process for 1 year and then see what happens. So Diti replied, my dear Brahman, I must accept your advice. So at least she was willing to accept his advice and follow the vow. Now let me understand what I have to do. What is forbidden and what will not break the vow? Please clearly state all this to me. So yeah, she was very conforming and she did listen to her husband. So although she's co-hated with Indra, but she's happy to listen. As stated above, woman is generally inclined to serve her own purposes. Kashyap Muni proposed to train Diti to fulfill her desires within 1 year. And since she was eager to kill Indra, she immediately agreed, saying, please let me know what the vow is and how I have to follow it. I promise that I shall do the needful and not break the vow. This is another side of woman's psychology. Even though a woman is very fond of fulfilling her own plans, when someone instructs her, especially her husband, she innocently follows. And so she can be trained for better purposes. By nature, a woman wants to be a follower of a man. Therefore, if the man is good, the woman can be trained for a good purpose. So that's good to hear. So Kashyap Muni said, my dear wife, to follow this vow, do not be violent or cause harm to anyone. Don't curse anyone. Don't speak lies. Don't cut your nails and hair. And do not touch impure things like skulls and bones. Okay. So Kashyap Muni's first instruction to his wife was not to be envious. The general tendency of anyone within the material world is to be envious, and therefore to become a Krishna conscious person, one must curb this tendency as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. A Krishna conscious person is always non-envious, whereas others are always envious. Thus, Kashyap Muni's instruction that his wife not be envious indicates that this is the first stage of advancement in Krishna consciousness. Kashyap Muni desired to train his wife to be a Krishna conscious person, for this would suffice to protect both her and Indra. So he's hoping that by following the process for 1 year, her mind will change. She'll have a different mindset. Because in the spiritual world, there's everything that we have here. The only thing missing there is envy. There's no envy in the spiritual world. So he wants to spiritualize her nicely. So Kashyap Muni continued, my dear gentle wife, never enter the water while bathing, never be angry, and don't even speak or associate with wicked people. Never wear clothes that have not been properly washed, and do not put on a garland that has already been worn. So this is interesting. Okay. So never eat leftover food. Never eat prasad offered to the goddess Kali, Durga, and do not eat anything contaminated by flesh or fish. Do not eat anything brought or touched by Shudra, nor anything seen by a woman in her menstrual period. Do not drink water by joining your palms. Generally, the goddess Kali is offered food containing meat and fish, and therefore Kashyap Muni strictly forbade his wife to take the remnants of such food. Actually, a Vaishnava is not allowed to take any food offered to the demigods. A Vaishnava is always fixed in accepting prasad offered to Lord Vishnu. Through all these instructions, Kashyap Muni, in an active way, instructed his wife Diti how to become a Vaishnavi. So he's trying to become a Vaishnava, follow all these rules and regulations. So after eating, you should not go out to the street without having washed your mouth, hands and feet. Should not go out in the evening or with your hair loose. Nor should you go out unless you are properly decorated with ornaments. You should not leave the house unless you are very grave and are sufficiently covered. Kashyap Muni advised his wife not to go out on the street unless she was well decorated and well dressed. He did not encourage the miniskirts that have now become fashionable in Oriental civilization. When a woman goes out onto the street, she must be fully covered so that no man will recognize who she is. All these methods are to be accepted for purification. If one takes to Krishna consciousness, one is fully purified, and thus one remains always transcendental to the contamination of the material world. So, yeah, it's very powerful stuff. I don't know if everybody would agree with this, but this is what is mentioned, and this is the translation by Srila Prabhupada on what Bhagavatam says in this canto, in this chapter. So I don't know. Soul Mataji is listening. So I'd like to hear what you think. Sureshi Mataji, Hare Krishna. Anyway, Hare Krishna to Hina Mataji, Puneet Mataji, Sureshi Mataji, Hare Go. Sureshi Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Everybody. We've been hearing about the Diti and Diti, and the two wives were Aditi and Diti. One was the Diti sons were all demigods, and the Diti sons were all demons. And but the father was Kashyap Muni. And I mean, all this it is happening because Diti and the sons and Harnakashyap and everything. It is because it's attachment and sense gratification. Even the demigods, they've got attachment and gratification as well. They always just they've been fighting both, but they both want the same. But the only difference is their devotees, demigod and devotees only Vishnu, and then demons that think they can do everything for themselves and the follow the word of the spiritual master, Vikracharya. And this attachment and sense gratification, they are root cause of enmity. Because of that, they've got enmity, they want to kill each other, they have war, battle, and among the families and even the friends, and it also causes the lust, greediness, and anger. If they can't get anything they want, then they get angry and then they want to kill each other. Diti wanted to kill Indra because of family attachment. She was so much attached to the family, and she didn't like because of Indra was the background, but her sons were killed by Lord Vishnu, Hiranyasha and Hiranyakashipu. That's why she wanted to kill Indra. Because of Indra, Vishnu killed them, two sons. And also material desires are the cause of the greatest unhappiness. All we get is material desires, but it's all unhappiness. We can't get happiness. It's all temporary. And freedom from such desires is the cause of greatest happiness. And if you desire anything from Krishna, it is the greatest happiness. We should give up material desires of society. I mean, sometimes you want something from society, or even you have a desire for land. I mean, there's all going on because of the land. That's why they're fighting. Therefore, because they've got desires. And the kingdom, such desires cause bondage and also misery. And we are bewildered by the object of senses offered by Maya, and which is temporary. We go on to this view, but nothing lasts. Everything, the great politicians, they think they all died. They were fighting for sense objects, for the land and everything, but they all died there because it's all temporary. And it causes unhappiness and anxiety. When they're fighting, they don't feel happiness, they don't feel it. It's all anxiety. So we should engage our senses in sense object in Krishna, like we read in Bhagavatam about Amrish Maharaj. His eyes wish to see the Lord and the devotees. His eyes wish to hear Krishna Katha like we are doing now. We are engaging all years in Krishna Katha. Our nose to smell the flowers. The tongue to chant Krishna Mahamantra. Start the Tulsi. Hands to play over incense. Legs to visit the temple and holy places. And with this vow, in a way, Kashyap Muni making Diti to follow some Krishna conscious rules. That's her mind purify her intelligence, what she was thinking like enmity towards, so her mind might change. So that's why, as a friend, as a husband, like friends and husband, they were like all friends to each other. Now he doesn't like what Diti is doing, but he's trying in a different way to make her feel thinking different. So that's why he asked her to follow the vows. So with the sense object, we should avoid the sense object that the making of our fall down sense object. And because we will think, I mean, if we have to have knowledge about it, then we can give it that. And if we have become Krishna conscious and read Bhagavatam, then we can get example and we have lesson from them that how to follow in life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Yeah, male or female, I mean, end of the day, we all have a mind, and mind is our biggest obstacle, right? It's the mind that causes all the problems, and it sort of expands things and just mind, friend can be a friend, can be enemy. Now, we can get away from other friends and enemies, right? We can hide from them. We can switch off our phone, can go somewhere, be solitary. But how do you escape from the mind? The mind goes with us, whether it's our friend or whether it's our enemy, it will go with us everywhere. We can lock our rooms. Mind will still, we can't lock the mind, right? It will come with us. So this is the biggest problem, that the mind is always with us, right? And especially if you're your enemy, imagine having an enemy on your back 24/7 in your sleep as well. Your enemy is with you. It's no wonder people are going crazy. This is the problem. So the mind has to be engaged in spirituality. We have to have spiritual intelligence, and this is why we have these sessions, make our intelligence strong and convince the mind to behave itself. Whether it's a man or a woman, we all suffer with the mind, and we have to get it to behave, and the only way to do it is by engaging it in Krishna consciousness. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hina Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna everybody. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Some very nice points in this, very interesting points in this chapter. Particularly like how how it's written about how women worship their husbands like God, and how they should traditionally, and how they should see them as representatives of God. And in this chapter, this is praying for a son, an eternal son, as she's lost her own, that were killed, and praying and speaking to her husband, Kashyap Muni, to grant her an eternal son. And yeah, it's very famous. Srila Prabhupada makes some very nice points about the relationship between a husband and wife in this chapter, and how that the relationship can be very dangerous if the husband and wife, and for family life as well, if it's centered around their own self-gratification and it's very materialistic in nature, then it can be very binding. But if husband and wife and their family members are serving the Lord, if they are on the spiritual path, if they're using their relationships to serve the Lord together, then it can be a very wonderful thing. All the family members will be able to progress in spiritual life very nicely together. which is the human aim of life, essentially. But at the same time, if that focus isn't there, then they can get lost. And essentially, as I said, binding. So from essentially, yeah, they just that materialistic relationship, if that's all they see, and that's all they want from each other, then eternally, then it's very hard to escape that. It's almost like they're shackled up essentially for future births as well. And yeah, I think very nice about how Krishnamon is trying to. He wants to satisfy Diti. He wants to, so he gives. He has to follow some instructions, to follow to follow a vow, and interestingly, a lot of the things he's asking her to do is almost training her to become a Vaishnavi, essentially, and starting with first and foremost is the first stage of not being envious, and then obviously cleanliness and lots of other instructions for her. So it's like almost like a years training to help her to become more like a Vaishnavi, essentially, and purify her. So it's a very nice reading. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yeah, a good point you mentioned, like husband and wife, they have to get it right. Otherwise, they can both bring themselves, or not hell, it can be hell on earth, and then the eventual hell as after this life. So be very careful so they can make heaven right here if they try, make a good life together. And the important thing is what the husband and wife do, children will follow. So it doesn't really just end on what they're doing. They're also affecting other people that they have, the progeny they have brought into this world. So they are responsible for them. So, it's such a big responsibility, because not only are we bombarded by sense gratification, so are the children. Whatever we're doing, they would want to do the same, or modern generation, they do one step more. So it's a big responsibility if we are willing to take it, that we become spiritualized, and we show by example to our children, so that they can also follow as well. So it's such a nice concept that Srila Prabhupada has given us. If we hadn't come to the West, we may still be going to the temple occasionally, but that's really not enough. It's really, and it says here that don't accept, we shouldn't be really taking prasad offered to the demigods, because demigods don't accept things unless they've been offered to Krishna. So that prasad, so-called prasad, is going somewhere else. That means someone else is eating it. Especially for Kali, they say when you offered something to Kali, she won't eat it, because one is people offering meat, and secondly, she only eats prasad, and Krishna doesn't accept meat, right? So who's eating that? This is the ghosts and the demons, the ghouls are eating that, and then you are taking the remnants of what they've eaten. So we have to be very, very careful. That what we're following, and Srila Prabhupada, he has shown us the right method, right process, because we could be spiritual, thinking we are spiritual, but not realize that we're not necessarily heading the right way about it, because it's not that every path leads to the same destination. If you catch the wrong bus, it's not going to take you to Birmingham or Walsall. It's going to take you to Wolverhampton or somewhere else. So you have to be very careful. If you want to go to Birmingham, then you have to catch the right bus. You have to follow the right path. And the amazing thing is that Srila Prabhupada, he's left such a legacy for us. He's left a legacy that will go on for 10,000 years. He was not an ordinary human being. To do something that will last for 10,000 years, because we have 10,000 golden years. So it's really mind-boggling to imagine that somebody can do that, and Srila Prabhupada demonstrated, not just for us, for all the Westerners' bodies as well. You can do that. So all glory to Srila Prabhupada. Praveen Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Bhaktinam. Yes, very nice class, nice teachings. So I don't think I've got anything to add really. But again, it is just reminding us how to control our senses and how Krishna Muni is telling Diti how to control her vices, not to be envious, not to be angry. So that's exactly, these are like teachings for us. That only we can progress in our spiritual life. We have to overcome all these weaknesses. And it can only happen if we engage our senses in serving Krishna rather than for sense gratification. First from one thing, another thing, the desires, they only multiply. And like in this morning Japa group, I want to share, Mani Prabhu gave the example like these Hollywood celebrities or any celebrities, like they get so much wealth and then they try to gratify themselves with all sorts of things. And we see in the news and how their lives end up, because they don't know what else to do with their life and they're taking all sorts of drugs and everything. But only if their connection was with the Lord and how much they could have done. So we can see it, and so it's we need to learn from the mistakes of others. And yes, we are very, very fortunate to have Srila Prabhupada, gems in all these books Prabhupada has left for us. And now we're reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, so I feel so fortunate. And now I'm realizing, you can only understand truly what does it mean to be Krishna conscious after reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, because now understanding the meaning of Panchatattva mantra, like before I used to just recite it, but now it's with so much love and respect and, understanding their positions. So can't thank enough Krishna Prabhupada and the senior devotees for all the service Prabhuji you're doing. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare
And
Krishna.
like lust, anger, and greed, even in Bhagavad-Gita it says these are the gates to hell. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mata. Yes, very nice. Yeah, absolutely right. And yeah, so when we study, then we become more conscious of, because normally we might just say it like subconsciously, but when we study, then when we understand the meaning and the potency behind all these mantras and everything, then yeah, we take them more seriously. Absolutely right. And thank you, Shani Mataji, for joining. Okay, listening. Radharani? Okay, nothing to add today. So let's do a couple of nice rounds. First of all, Swashi Mataji, Praveen Mataji, Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much.
Nama